A lot of these things affect compensation, so it's important to make sure that as the employer, you're aware of everything that's going on. So a few of these environmental factors that I felt like were the most important to discuss is technology, inflation, location, cost of living, wage rates, and labor laws. And a lot of them intertwine with one another, which you'll see as I continue to present, which is cool. So technology, which I'm sure we all know, is constantly changing and evolving within the business world. Different technologies and different softwares are constantly being updated, and a lot of that is being used in the workforce. So a lot of organizations or businesses, like my current job at the University of the Arts, may be able to outsource some of their compensation packages or programs. So we outsource our payroll system, which is ADP. And on this online compensation system, it allows our employees to sign up for direct deposit, and for them also to view their W-2s when that time of year also rolls around, and their pay stubs. So inflation is another factor environmentally that will change how compensation is looked at. Basically what it is it's an imbalance of the relationship between supply and demand that causes the inflation, and it affects the compensation by affecting the cost of living. So once you affect the cost of living, as you can see by the consumer price index, it increases the amount that the employee will have to pay for things for everyday living. So this is just what a brief synopsis is. It can affect food, alcohol, and cigarettes for people who enjoy those on their own personal time, clothing, housing, education, communication, health, and transportation. So with an increase in inflation, it can affect the day-to-day expenses that people have. So I travel to work, I take the PAC-GO, and I also drive. So when there was an increase in gas prices, I filled my tank up before I went to work the next day, just because things like that will affect how you view your compensation package once you agree to it. Another thing that I mentioned was the cost of living. So with an increase in the general price level or the consumer price index, the cost of living index also increases or changes. So a lot of us may not have a mortgage right now, but some of us may have rent. So when the cost of living increases, it also fluctuates in that aspect as well. So a few things that it's also good to keep in mind is that when these changes or cost of living either increase or decrease, it affects the employees or whether or not they're going to stay in that position long term. So 4.5% of employees stay at their job, and 20% move on to a different job based on compensation because they want a higher wage. So the recruitment of these quality employees, once they're already working for the organization, it's also important as the employer to pay attention to how satisfied the employee is within their current position. So doing surveys, having weekly meetings or monthly meetings is also good. The location of the job is definitely the second portion in. As you can see by this graph that I found on Indeed, that was the 51% of people who took the survey, closely behind was flexible hours, was saying that they wanted a good location. Location can depend on the hourly wage of a position. So for this specific position as an HR coordinator with 2 years of experience, I looked at the location. So the greater Philadelphia area, the median was $43,471, and in New York City, it was $66,000 was the median. So that goes to show you how the location of the certain position could affect the compensation. Based on the previous example that I just gave you, the organization will also affect how much an employee is compensated. So basically they want to monitor how the compensation package is being allocated to each employee so they can make sure that they're being paid properly. Compensation is decided on the basis on what is prevalent in the industry and how much the need for that position is required. So if it's more prevalent to pay attention to different organizations and other universities, for example, in that surrounding area to see how much they're paying, because that's going to be their competition for quality employees. Another factor is wage rates, and this also depends on if you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. We're all getting our bachelor's degree, which is great. A lot of employers, in order to increase your compensation package, may look for you to have a master's degree as well, so that's also something to go into. As Emily mentioned previously, labor laws is also a very crucial within the workforce. It's definitely an environmental factor. She had talked about the changes that are going to be taking place with FLSA. That is to be determined, but the changes in the laws prevent employers from exploiting their employees. So that's definitely a big part of compensation. And as I previously mentioned, this had changed. So the compensation daily was going to go up, and the weekly amount that each employee was going to be compensated was going to increase as well. So new and you, as I mentioned, I currently work at the University of the Arts. I'm a human resources coordinator there, so I work full-time there as well. I definitely see the compensation changes that go on versus the position and the location, and what people are looking for when they come into the position and what they feel like is a quality job position for them all around. After doing this presentation, this was something new for me. Before I was very, not so much closed-minded about relocating, but I've been in South Jersey basically my whole life, so I really wasn't too big on moving. But knowing the type of skills that I have now and knowing that they'll pay more if I move out to a different location, I'm much more open-minded to that. And another one is obtaining my master's degree. So since I'll be graduating in a few weeks next month, I'm definitely looking into getting my master's degree, and I'm deciding on where now currently I would like to go. And I'm going to pass it over to Brooke, who's going to be talking about pay systems and ranking.
Hi everyone, I'm Brooke. I'm going to be talking about pay systems and ranking. So the internal alignment pay systems, this is the pay relationships between the job, skills, and competencies within a single organization. As you can see, the employee of the month gets to ride first on the elevator, so that's her compensation. We use internal alignment to structure the organization through the nature of the business and according to their qualifications. So this gives companies competitive advantage. When you have higher skilled employees, you want to pay them more and move them up in the company. This is also called internal equity, which is ensuring fairness in pay for employees working similar jobs. External equity refers to the comparisons with other competitive pay structures outside of the company, and there are some advantages to considering internal equity, which are the perception of fairness, equal pay. This also helps with the reduced exposure to discrimination, so when you're being paid equally, you run less risk of discrimination to a certain member of a protected class. Also consistent standards. So when conducting a job analysis and developing a description, you establish the abilities, duties, and responsibilities required for a position that earns a certain amount of pay. Team structure. Members of a work team can work more easily to collaborate when they earn similar pay. This motivates employees and their behavior. So trying to find the balance of and the right structure for your company so that it does motivate your employees, knowing that they're paid well and excuse me, they work harder. And which supports the workflow. So as long as your employees are paid well, they're happier, they interact more with the customers, and your business will thrive. So there's two different types of pay structure, hierarchy and egalitarianism. Hierarchy is more like clearly defines the rules to identify obligations and rules of behavior, and egalitarianism is, they kind of consider themselves equals that have the same values, and you could see that they work more in teams and structures where this is more individual hierarchy. Their pay difference is larger than egalitarian, and they're just loose, more loose, easygoing. So job ranking and job classification is an important factor in determining equal pay structure and compensation. So you're not going to pay the janitor the same as you're going to pay the CEO. So there's different rankings and job classifications that go into that. Job ranking, this is the importance of order of job is judged in terms of duties, responsibilities, and demands. The receptionist has less duties than the team leader and the department manager who runs the whole department. Jobs are compared to each other based on the overall worth of the job to the organization. The worth of a job is usually based on judgments of skill, effort, responsibility, and working conditions. And this kind of shows you the corporate ladder, starting off as an engineer, and then on to a senior engineer, manager, general manager. Job classification, this goes by, it classifies grouped according to a series of predetermined wages. So class 1 would be like the executives. Class 2 would be skilled workers, which is like the cashier. Class 3 would be semi-skilled workers, machine operators, switchboards. The classification of a position is decided by comparing the whole job with the appropriate job grading standard to ensure equity in the job grading and wage rates. A common set of job grading standards and instructions are used. So you would use a job evaluation, and this is like a comprehensive analysis of each position's tasks, responsibilities, knowledge, and skill requirements, and it's used to assess the value to the employer of the job's content and provide internal ranking and jobs. So you're also paid well for what you're doing. And it gives employees a little bit more structure so they know what they have to do every day, and they're not giving 100%, 110% throughout the whole week. It's every single day. This is a cute little cartoon. So my internship is at Dollar Tree. I'm an assistant store manager. I recently just got an evaluation done in October, and it worked out really well. And I don't plan on staying here, but I did get a pay increase, and increasing the pay actually makes me happy. Happy employees equals happy customers. So then you sell more, and your business thrives. After Dollar Tree, I have had an offer at Dollar Tree to move up into HR, which is what my major is, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or move somewhere else. And that is the end. Thank you. Sorry.
Don't make me stand up and move this time.
I was thinking about it.
I know you were.
Is that why you didn't move last week?
Yeah, you saw that, did you?
Yeah.